Back on Spotlight. You know, sometimes in life it's all about making enough, but not too much money to raise any flags or get the wrong kind of attention. Well, bad combination of maybe age, salary, and cap hit for some big-name players in the NFL this offseason. But they've all still earned a spot somewhere, I think. Where exactly, though? Let's bring in our senior NFL writer, Pete Prisco. All right, Pete, I know you've already released your top 100 free agents, and now we've had some cap casualties here. So if you were to re-rank some of these guys or insert them wherever they belong and then find us their best landing spot, let's do that here with you. Aaron Rodgers, okay, the people who are sick and tired about hearing the 41-year-old, too bad. He's a name that's always going to garner a lot of attention. Where would Rodgers rank now for you, and where's maybe the best spot for him?
Well, he would be second behind Sam Darnold on my list. I think when you look at Rodgers, and people forget that the guy threw 28 touchdown passes last year, more than Justin Herbert, more than Patrick Mahomes, more than a lot of guys. And he really started to look like Aaron Rodgers at the end of last season. Now, he does come with issues. Let's be real. He comes with being Aaron Rodgers, and that can be a problem for some organizations. He's one of those guys that, doesn't always run the play that they want when they send it in. So I think there's issues involved with Aaron Rodgers, but he can still play football. I think we saw that at the end of last year. Best spot for him, I would say the Raiders. I mean, when you look at the Raiders situation, if they don't go ahead and spend big money to get a Sam Darnold or go make a trade to get one of the other quarterbacks out there, I think Aaron Rodgers would make all the sense in the world for the Raiders and Tom Brady.
Yeah, the last 10 games for Rodgers was really good. Now, if he goes to Vegas, how do you like his receiving options out there?
Well, he's got the best pass-catching tight end in the league in Brock Bowers. We saw that in rookie year, so then you can just start to build around it. They need to get weapons around him if that were to be the case, but you can use the draft. You can get a couple in free agency. They have a lot of cap room. So I think if they really want to get Aaron Rodgers and let him be their quarterback for a year or two, I think it's entirely possible, and I think it would be a good landing spot for him. And remember, he has a home in Los Angeles, in the Los Angeles area, so it would make sense to go back out west.
All right, this then leads to a fun one. Davante Adams back to Las Vegas. The now former Jets wide receiver will turn 33 at the end of this calendar year, Pete. He had 7 touchdowns in those 11 games since he was traded from the Raiders to the Jets. Where does Adams rank on your list of receivers here?
Well, behind Chris Godwin, and I think Chris Godwin, remember, before he got hurt last year, he was leading the league in catches for Tampa Bay. I do think Godwin will go back to Tampa Bay, although there will be an active market for him. And then Davante Adams is next. I mean, the age is a concern, just like it is with Amari Cooper, just like the injury and age is a concern with Stephon Diggs on that list. But I think Adams is second now. He did some really good things with Aaron Rodgers. Would he go back to the Raiders? I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to end up maybe in Dallas. And if you look at the Cowboys, they need a number 2 wide receiver. And Davante Adams can sit here and say he's a number 1 wide receiver right now. He's not. He's now a 1A or a 2, and he would be perfect to be a guy that can complement C.D. Lamb in Dallas. So I think Dallas would make some sense if they're willing to spend a little bit of money. And remember, I don't think he's going to get the mega deal this time around. He's made a lot of money in the NFL. He needs to get to the right situation.
Still a really good route runner, right, which is what he's been all his career. Is that a big enough splash to satisfy some Dallas fans, do you think, Pete?
Oh, of course not. There's never a splash big enough to satisfy Cowboys fans. All they're going to do is blame Jerry Jones for not getting him 4 years ago. I mean, you know how they are. That's just the way the Cowboys fans are.
I just couldn't resist. All right, Evan Ingram is on the market now. He missed 8 games. And then after they traded Christian Kirk in Jacksonville, he had the highest salary cap number on the team for the Jaguars. So maybe not a surprise that Ingram is a cap casualty. How productive can he still be at that tight end position? Where do you have him ranked?
Well, there's some numbers that you look at, you get a little concerned about it because his yards per catch have gone way down. And the feeling around Jacksonville was he didn't stretch the field much anymore. But he is a guy that can move the chains. And I think there's a lot of teams out there. He moves to number 1 on my tight end list. It's not a great group of tight ends, but he is a guy that can catch a lot of passes. He's not going to be a great blocker, so if you're looking for that, you can forget about it. But a team like the Chargers would make some sense. They need to get a pass-catching tight end. I think he's a guy that can help in the middle of the field. Again, Age is starting to be a concern. He's not a guy that's going to get deep down the middle of the seam, but he can be a chain mover, and some of these teams need that. I think the Chargers would be one of those teams that could add that type of receiver to their offense.
All right, speaking of the Chargers, maybe they have some work to do on defense after letting go of Joey Bosa. We'll see about Khalil Mack. Bosa was second in franchise history in career sacks, Pete, but $36.5 million cap hit. And I know Bosa said he wanted to be a Charger for life, but that was obviously just too much for the front office to swallow there. Where's Bosa in terms of still being an elite pass rusher, if you view him that way, and who could he really help?
Well, the one thing with Bosa is he has to stay on the field. Yeah. He's only started 18 games over the course of the last 3 seasons. Now, he did have 9 of them last year, and I think they kind of limited him a little bit and kind of used him in situationally more than they had in the past, which probably helped him play 14 games and get 9 starts. But again, it's health for him. He's still a guy that can go get it. He's still a guy that can rush the passer. I think he's right there with Mack. I think they're kind of, 2 and 2A underneath Josh Sweat. I think Sweat gets the number 1 spot because of age and production, and I think he's on his best football is in front of him, whereas those two, their best football might be behind him. But he's still a guy who can get to the quarterback, and there's value in that. It's just what kind of contract do you give him, particularly with the health being what it's been, and where does he go? I'll give you a perfect spot for him. Go join your brother in San Francisco. I think that would be a great opportunity for those two to play together. I think when you look at it, the 49ers, yeah, they have some cap problems, but they can work it in if they want to. And they always seem to add veteran pass rushers to their group each and every year. So I think Bosa would make a lot of sense in San Francisco.
Okay, so Pete, am I hearing then you still believe that the Niners championship window is still open, right? Bosa would be a short-term deal, presumably, and a guy that they feel like can help us win now.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any question that window's open, and I think they know that. There's still stars on that team. And you look at that roster up and down, and they still have a lot of big-time playmakers on that roster. Now, some people will say, well, you got rid of Deebo Samuel. I don't think he was that productive anymore. I think he slowed down a great deal. I don't think that's necessarily a major loss for them. So, absolutely, the window's open. Now, they have to figure out what to do with Brock Purdy's contract. I think they'll give him a long-term deal, and he's the long-term answer. 49ers window definitely open. You got to stay healthy, but it'll be back open this year.
And then this news broke today. The Commanders are releasing Jonathan Allen after 8 years. Where have you snuck Allen into your rankings?
Yeah, you know what? He's another guy that's been bothered by injuries, and injuries and age. And when you look at free agency, you got to be a little careful with age and injuries. But he's been a productive player when he's been on the field. That's why I still have Milton Williams ahead of him. He's younger. He's only 25. He's an interior pass rusher. But Jonathan Allen, when healthy, is a really good player. Big physical presence, a guy who can play against the run, can hold up against the run, can also attack the quarterback. I think there's a lot of teams looking for a bigger body inside. He would make a ton of sense for the Buffalo Bills. If you look at the way the Bills are constructed right now, Ed Oliver, small defensive tackle, but good. But he needs a big body who can do some damage next to him, and I think Jonathan Allen would be perfect for the Bills. And in talking to some of the Bills people at the Combine, they want to get bigger inside. Jonathan Allen would make a lot of sense.
All right, our Pete Prisco all over the NFL free agents and their next landing spots. Pete, thank you. The NFL never sleeps. Neither do we. CBS Sports HQ, your home for all the news, highlights, and scores in season, out of season, doesn't matter.